Okay, hi everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm just gonna kind of go down the line here and have each of you introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about your role and your organizations, and then if you could also just give an example, a personal example of what makes your work meaningful, what gives you purpose in your work, that would be great. And Geoff, I will start with you.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here. I'm Geoff Boraston. I'm the Vice President of Organizational Development for Granite Construction Company. We're a large civil engineering contractor, so you might see us on the roads around here. Sorry if we cause delays. What brings meaning for me is in my role, I'm able to help people and help develop people and advance their careers. And I've seen people move up through the organization, and I find that really rewarding.
Great. Melissa?
Hello, everyone. You can hear me? I'm Melissa Adams. I work for Duarte. We're in the business of storytelling. So stop me if I ramble on a story. What gives me the most joy is cultivating really rewarding workplaces. I've done so many transformations in my career, and I absolutely love to watch people grow and excel and just enjoy what they do. And so mostly in the work of culture is where I find myself.
Great. Christine?
Hi everyone, my name is Christine Schmidt. I'm at Rippling. Rippling is a workforce management solution that helps people get work done and take the busy work out of any sort of day-to-day operations. So whether it's onboarding people really quickly or managing payroll, it's a very different take on how to run different workforce applications. My role at Rippling is I help bring platform and data products to market. And this stems from my background previously running people analytics. And so in the people analytics space, there's a lot of data that you can bring to help make strategic business decisions. And that data is often inaccessible or really difficult to find. And so what brings meaning to me in my work is finding a way to bring my functional expertise of people analytics to every company, no matter how big or how small, whether or not they can afford to hire a full-time people analytics professional.
Great. Katherine?
So thank you. It's very nice to be on this panel. It's an honor to be with all you guys. So I am super nervous. So yes, I am the dork that has the note cards. So I may need the note card literally to remember my own name. So bear with me. I apologize as I literally look down. So my name is Katherine Ovadia, and I work at the wonderful company called One Planet Group. And we are a private equity firm that focuses on digital marketing. We're a global company, and we span everywhere from the US to Armenia. We even have an office in the Ukraine. And similar to Geoff and Christine, what really makes me, Melissa, what makes me find meaning in my work is I really love when I can help people shine and really be their best selves. So like for me with my team, I love making sure that they're a part of really cool, juicy projects that they own and that they can make sure that they actually present out directly to the executives and be able to get that recognition and flourish. It makes me feel like, kind of like a proud mama. So anyway.
Perfect. You don't even need your notes. You're good. Jen?
Hi everyone, I'm Jen Feri, and I am the Vice President of HR Partners at VMware until February of this month, actually. Now I'm a professional pickleballer. I'm kidding. I should say aspiring professional pickleballer. And at VMware, God, what an incredible and an amazing company and journey. And one of the things that I just had the true pleasure of doing is growing a team of HR partners who grew their skill sets, that grew the impact for business leaders. And it just was incredibly impactful and fulfilling.
Great, thank you. It's awesome having such a wide range of organizations represented here. And we're talking, this whole session is about making work meaningful in such uncertain times. So I'd love to hear, like, put this in real terms when it comes to, you know, sentences like, phrases like putting people over profit. What does that mean? What is management? What are some of the trade-offs there and the hard decisions that organizations are having to make? And I'm gonna start with Melissa and then come to the rest of you.
So thank you. Duarte is in, we have two parts to our organization. One is an academy training company. So we teach enterprise to you know, their employees to tell stories, how to present their ideas, whether that's through data or visual presentations, based on our own Duarte IP. The other half of the organization, which in fact is larger and where it all began, is essentially a presentation company. We use PowerPoint and other softwares to present incredible movie-like presentations. So if you think of Steve Jobs, or if you think of even VMware, that's one of our biggest clients, we'll be there on stage. And we'll be behind the scenes, actually. We'll watch the speaker on stage, and we would have perhaps helped them with the script, helped them with the speaker coaching, and done all that visual multimedia. So it's really quite riveting, but it's also incredibly hard work. And we had to make a decision back in 2022 to part ways with two of our biggest anchor accounts in terms of their events. So we support them in other ways, but we just said, no, we cannot possibly do your events. And that was a really hard decision to make, particularly one of the, I mean, we're talking about one of the world's largest brands here, and we said that despite the 3.5 million that this business is to us, which was still quite a chunk of change for a small organization, we cannot put our people in the fray. The human toll that running this event is huge. And we had done it for 30 years, this huge developer conference in the Silicon Valley, and we just couldn't come to an agreement on our values, on ways of working. To the point where over the years, we've got some horror stories. Literally, people have been quite traumatized with executives falling asleep on their shoulder in a hotel room because they're making changes to their slides at the last minute. You know, and it just, the human toll is incredible. And it's not just the event itself, it's leading up to the event. And so we made the decision to say, look, we're going to transition out. We will support you to find your service provider. We'll work with them to make sure they've got the right assets and everything, because we never want to leave someone in the lurch. But we're losing talent. You know, we're risking potentially workers' compensation claims at this rate. I mean, it really was quite terrible. And the talent at Duarte is world class, I'm not kidding. And so my job is to retain that talent and to provide the right environment. So we said no to the business, and that was very emotional. The staff didn't want to say no to it. The executives were upset. But what we did after that was basically did a review and said, what do we need to do to make this work? How can we take on events in the future and make sure our staff are still actually enjoying it? Because it can be an incredible experience when you're in the trenches, behind the scenes. So I can talk about that later. I don't want to ramble on, but we did certainly, we're back in the position now 2 years later where we can run events because we've put some proactive measures in place, some in the moment measures, and then some after measures to make sure that everyone can go in and enjoy it. But it resonated with our employees, and for them, they knew that we had their back. And they knew that in fact, we rose and we made up that revenue in other ways because the employees wanted to give back. For that absence of the event work, they wanted to say thank you. And you know, our tenure, etc., is incredibly long, and so we've managed to retain the talent through the process. But that was a real example of you know, people over profit.
Great example. Geoff, I'm going to go to you. Do you have another real world tangible example of this in action?
Yeah, when I hear people over profits, the first thing that comes to my mind is investing in your people. And investing in their development, in their growth, in their careers, and sometimes those careers may take them outside the organization, but it's still important to invest in people in every stage of their journey with the company. And you know, at Granite, we've had a long history of having employee development steeped into the culture of the business. Back in over 20 years ago, we actually kicked off an employee development initiative where we embedded employee development leaders in each business unit. And so we had probably 25 of them. And their roles, they came out of the business, and their roles were to advance employee development in their local business unit. And they got training and support, in this role. Then the idea was they'd rotate out and somebody would rotate back in to that spot. So what we were doing was we were rotating people through this role where we start to build this culture of employee development. We don't have the same model anymore, but the philosophy is still there, really investing in the people. And for us, it's vital because we don't have proprietary technology, proprietary manufacturing, any particular intellectual property. We have access to the same labor pools and the same materials and means and methods as every other company. So our difference, our competitive weapon, is our people. That's our competitive weapon.
Interesting. Other examples? Go ahead and share. No? Okay. That's totally fine. So, I mean, what you were getting to is this very human-centered approach to just running the business, right? And I'm wondering, I'm going to go to you guys down there, whoever wants to take it first. Jen, do you want to chime in? What does that mean? Again, like trying to put these terms that we throw out there in very real, tangible terms.
Yeah. Geoff, I love what you said about like the people being the secret weapons, because they are. So like no person wants to come into or work at a workplace where they're thought of as a widget, a number, a transaction. Forget it. Like that, like no one wants that. They just don't. So I think leaders really have a really incredible opportunity to really think about people as whole individuals coming into the workplace. So people are bigger than what they show up as at 8 to 5, 9 to 6, whatever that day looks like. And for leaders to really understand that, they have to take an interest in the people that they are working with every single day. So every individual is going to be completely different. Some are really going to want development. Others are going to either want or need flexibility. Yeah. There are some people who are really going to want to come in and be a part of everything, decision making, or in employee resource groups, or whatever it is. So it's really important that leaders pay attention to that. And today I wanted to actually share a personal story to kind of bring that home about what human-centered leadership really looks like and feels like. And so part of this it's really related to my journey to becoming a vice president. That was a milestone for me. It was incredibly important to me. And it was incredibly hard. And we were coming up at VMware on the vice president promotion cycle. I was super excited. I was really confident until my world came crashing down. And I did not actually make it my first time through being up for promotion. So it's a coveted spot. It's hard to get. And I didn't make it. So I was deflated. My boss, after a minute, helped me pick myself up off the ground. She knew how important it was to me. She knew what my skill set was, and she knew where I needed to develop. So she could have said, hey, Jen, good luck. Catch you on the next round, but she didn't. She took an approach that is completely human-centered and individualized to me. So she made sure that she put me on projects and initiatives that not only helped me build my executive skills, but it helped highlight them for others as she thought about what does that stakeholder engagement and sponsorship look like for me, so that I was building that and she was helping to build it for me as well. Additionally, and this is part of the hard part, but this is also the loving, human-centered part, I got lots of feedback. I got feedback all the time, and some of it was amazing, and some of it was like, thank you very much, ouch. But it was all done from just a super caring and intentional place. So fast forward, next promotion cycle, I became one of VMware's 250 vice presidents out of 5,600 leaders out of 38,000 employees. Big, big accomplishment. So the story doesn't end there. So let me put a cherry on the top in terms of her human-centered leadership. She waited until I was on vacation to call me, congratulate me, tell me it's the proudest she's ever been to promote someone, And she wanted me to be able to celebrate with my family because she knows my family is so important to me and number one. So that is human-centered leadership.
And then you went on to pickleball.
And then now I'm pickleballing.
VP of the pickleball team.
VP
right?
of pickleball, that's right.
Thank you for sharing that, because the personal story really brings this to light. Christine, if you could comment on this too, and being the data person on the stage here, how do you use these tools to help, not hinder, having a human-first approach?
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things about being in an HR organization is we don't always have that ability to influence the human-centric of every manager, of every person. And so the larger an organization, the more managers are out there, the more touch points that we don't have control over. Or we may need to influence a leader to be more intentional about what's happening in a certain part of his or her organization. And I think data is one of the best ways to help us get a pulse or an understanding of what's working and what's not. And the problem with trying to create value or trying to be a human-centric organization is, are we measuring and are we looking for the right things that are going to enable us to take that action before we develop a culture of toxicity or a culture of burnout? And what I really liked about your story, Jen, was it was about did you feel like you earned it, the reward? Was all the work worth it? And how your manager really catered that to you. And different people need that sense of accomplishment in different ways. And if you were the type that was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you are calling me on vacation, that story would have landed very differently. Yeah. But if you think about what makes meaning for people, it's not just, are they going to climb the ladder? No, it's about, are they going to develop as a human, are they going to develop skills? Are they going to earn the respect of their colleagues? And do they feel like they are contributing in a meaningful way to whatever the organization is doing? And so, I do have my own burnout stories. I didn't do pickleball, but I took a sabbatical and I planted an herb garden, and I went biking every day.
That's amazing.
Everyone should take sabbaticals. They're awesome. Yeah. But really reflecting on what that meaning is, and if I'm managing a team, how I can be a human-centric leader, or if I'm working with my leadership team, making sure that they are monitoring and putting the right measurements in place, the right data in place, so they can figure out when something's going off the rails, how to intervene before you get the attrition problem and you lose what makes your company special, your talent depart.
Okay, great. Katherine, I'm going to go to you on a slightly different question. As we're talking about meaning in our work, and some of it is on a personal level, some of it organizational, across the board, how do you make sure that you're instilling or trying to instill that sense of meaning in employees by sort of connecting the dots of their work and impact, right? And the impact that your organization or that they individually have beyond just what they're doing day to day? Is that something you're thinking about?
Yeah, thank you. So at One Planet, I think that being able to, so at One Planet, I think being able to actively consider our impact to the world and our impact locally. I think this is one of our key measures of success versus just like growth and revenue. And some ways that we sort of put, some plan of action to this. We have service days, which are opportunities throughout the year for our team members to volunteer, and whether it's in a group or just individually what they care about. We also did this really cool service trip where we had 5 employees be able to go to Gambia, and they worked for a really beautiful organization that focused on women's education. And so I think being able to bring that outside world into the company is so important. And there's just so many different possibilities, but those are two little examples that we've done.
Okay. I'm going to just go down the line and hear from the rest of you, if you can share some examples or just how you're thinking about it. And Geoff, let's go over to you.
Well, I'll do this via an example. Everybody in this room traveled here using some sort of public infrastructure, right? And unless you rode in a helicopter, anybody ride in a helicopter?
Yes.
Yeah, you did? Anybody teleport? No, that's not available yet, but maybe one day. But so what we do as an organization, we connect communities, right? We create mobility of people, mobility of goods and services. We also provide power. We're in the renewable energy business. You know, we build tunnels for taking stormwater away from communities, so there's no flooding. And we connect our employees to this greater purpose of the work we do. There is societal value. And we used to put out these, and this has changed a little bit, we used to put out these sort of project information sheets, which were very engineering-esque. And I'm an engineer. I went to school to be an engineer. But it would be, you know, oh, this project was so many cubic yards of concrete, so many tons of rebar, so many cubic yards of dirt. And they were really dry. But what we started to do was include the value to society, right? We thought maybe, okay, this project is reducing commute time, or if it's a new bridge, it's connecting this community with this community. And I think our younger generation particularly values that type of communication. The older generation, they're fine with making money, but I think the younger generations, they want to be connected, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I think for us it'll be a trainer is in the classroom with working inside a company and part of their university program, and we're watching people transform before our very eyes. And I have goosebumps sometimes when I read the evaluation forms from our customers when they say this was the best workshop I've ever been in, and you also made it accessible for me, and that this is the gold standard of how training should be. And at our heart, we believe that you could help heal the world if we all became better communicators. So our goal is to transform the way that 1 million people communicate. And so we do that through various mechanisms, but we're essentially putting empathy and storytelling at the heart of that. On the design side of the business, we've got these incredible creatives that can just do magic with Miro board even. And, you know, we always share the successes after the win internally so that we can see the impact that we're having from a creative standpoint or the feedback we're getting from our customers. And we know that our employees are incredibly proud of working at Duarte, and they're proud of each other's work, and they learn from each other's work. So there's some tactical ways that we have Nix play in the living rooms. So where everyone went remote, we decided we wanted a communication channel which was a Nix player. So we'd put little messages onto the Nix player or little reminders for training courses or feedback evaluation. It's just in the home as a nice reminder. Mm-hmm. So just cute things like that.
You guys must put together some killer presentations for meetings internally, since this is what you...
We're doing it for everybody else. We're pretty awful for it ourselves. Yeah. We have a template, but we had our Duarte kickoff in January, and we never did a tech rehearsal. Huh. Oh, the criticisms we got for that. So we should do better internally. But no, when you see Dreamforce and you see Einstein, and that was our work, you know, you're like, wow.
Okay. I thought you were all trying to one-up each other internally, but you're just tired of slideshows. Christine.
It's sad that the cobbler's children have no shoes. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, right.
So one of the things that Rippling does that, you know, really brings the meaning and value to me personally is it strives to transform the way, you know, HR runs their business. And so nobody got into HR to do paperwork. Nobody got into HR to do all this compliance stuff. It's like the most painful parts of the job, and it takes away from the type of work that you did get into this work to do, the meaning, the development, the connection, the strategic advisory. And so what Rippling does is it seeks to automate, and it seeks to make those processes as pain-free as possible. And so I've only been there for a couple months. I'm still pretty new to the organization, but the data infrastructure is built in such a way that you can do all these really, really cool automations without, you program it once, set it and forget it. And computers don't take PTO. Computers, don't worry if you're out sick. And my example is when I got my offer letter, and the moment I accepted, I had 7 emails in my inbox within 30 seconds. And there was 1 email for benefits enrollment, and 1 email for 401k enrollment, and 1 email for my laptop provisioning. And no human did that. It was the moment they clicked that button, all this stuff happened. And when I showed up on day 1, it was my manager who checked my passport, not the HR person. And it was just so interesting to me because it's truly transforming the way in freeing up so much time from the people who are just barely keeping their heads above water. And when we hear testimonials from customers who are saying like, I haven't had the opportunity to actually be a strategic advisor to my client. I'm always just like barely trying to keep my head on. But when I automated all of that and cleaned out all this work, I brought a report and helped change the game and helped drive that conversation. And that's really what brings meaning to where I see my company bringing meaning to our clients is giving them back the time that they wanted to do the job they wanted to do and not the job that they're stuck with because of legacy, terrible software and processes.
Jen, any other thoughts to add?
I think I love what was shared, and I think it's all different. And I think that the thing that I would share about VMware pre-Broadcom acquisition is the culture and the values. So the values of VMware were actually created as a grassroots effort. So the employees of VMware created the values that everybody lived every single day. And I have never experienced that in a corporate setting before. And I was at VMware for 11 years, and I experienced it. It was created very early into my tenure there, and I experienced that every single day. So I think that is really special and important as we think about just where we are today and people trying to find meaning and grasp it, and we've got all kinds of uncertainty that's happening. It's what can you ground yourself in, and values that matter is a really great starting place.
I think this is a good segue, and Christine, I'm going to go to you because you kind of sort of touched on this head on or started to, but with all this emphasis on meaning and obviously employees wanting meaning in their work, this is coinciding with a real emphasis on productivity as well, and a lot of conversation around that. And of course, the uncertainty of the environment, especially here and within tech, other sectors too, to some extent. So what's the balance there? Because you want people to feel meaning because they want to feel meaning, of course, it's driven by them. And at the same time, you need to increase productivity, and you don't want people, it's very hard to feel meaning and burnout simultaneously. Like they're probably mutually exclusive. So how do you think about it?
Yeah, so there's a really great researcher named Christina Maslow. She's at University of California, Berkeley, and she published some amazing articles, going back to the 1980s about really what are the different levers that contribute to burnout. What are the risk factors? And it's not about looking at burnout as like the individual, like you are burned out, you need to take a day off. It's more about the collective and these like collective stresses that are hitting on you every single day. Are they making you cynical? Are they making you doubt yourself? Are they making you dread going to work on a Monday morning? I love going to work on a Monday morning. That means I drop my kids off, and that means that I am free. And excuse me, my children are delightful, I promise. And really what that means for balancing productivity is there's tons and tons of research out there that shows that your people are going to be most productive if they are inspired and motivated and happy and in a great place. And how you can figure out how to take the less meaningful work out of the equation. There's always going to be some stuff you have to do that you don't want to do, but how do you make that as minimal as possible? And how do you remove those pebbles from the shoes? How do you go and figure out what are those things that are just really degrading people and bringing them down and driving their motivation down. Because those are the things that are really going to impact an organization over time. And that's where, as people professionals, we think about like, what is our holistic rewards structure? And are we rewarding people monetarily, benefitally? There's a word there, I promise. I'm a math person, guys. Are we rewarding people in a way that actually drives good performance, or is the performance summary cycle just a soul-sucking endeavor that I'm getting feedback that I don't want to get, that's not constructive, while she's getting promoted over there and she was mean to me? And so it's really taking a holistic look at what are the different things that we as an organization can control. What are the levers, what are the responsibilities that we have to make the workforce a positive place? And how do we monitor for these behaviors or these aggregations or aggravations that really drive down that experience? And if you can try to show a commitment to an organization that you're doing that and you're invested in helping make their workplace better, I don't mean the $5 gift card or the Friday pizza party. I mean substantial investments in the culture. That's where I think you're going to be able to drive as much productivity as you can out of the worker, hopefully without burning them out.
I love the analogy of removing pebbles from shoes. That's a really nice way of picturing it. Melissa, by the way, I'm going to keep calling on you guys, but please jump in at any point, of course. But Melissa, same question to you, just on the burnout, and productivity.
Well, in the creative industry, there's a certain modality that the creative person is in when they're undertaking their work. Mm-hmm. And the worst thing we can do is knock on the door or send them an email and chase a timesheet. What we found with our workforce, particularly on the graphic design side, is they want freedom and autonomy to be creative and time to play. And they don't mind really challenging assignments, real solutions to solve, so long as you don't interrupt them or make them do an Excel sheet or make them learn about the finances. You need to just let them be, because work can be very hard and demanding, but if you're doing something you love, then it's rewarding. But what we found in our creative spaces, and actually it goes for me too, and many people, I think, that if you go from one meeting to the next and the next, and they're all very different with objectives, whether it's a financial review or you're organising a company event and then you're doing a performance review, or a dismissal or something, those things themselves, a switch in the brain can certainly cause burnout. It doesn't have to be the volume of work, sometimes it's that shift. So we do a lot of work at Duarte and I brought this in, and it was a very voodoo subject when I first arrived, but now they embrace it, and that is self-awareness tools and psychometrics. We have got 3 in our organisation that we use, and what that teaches us is what does every individual need, and going to your point about flexing and being accommodating to what is a rewarding environment for you is going to be different to me. I'm not a math geek, right? And so we spend a lot of time, working with our leaders and managers to cultivate an environment that's right to meet that individual. And I think we've got something like 6 different generations under one roof. The needs in your different areas of your life is going to be so different to one another. And so we have done a deliberate effort of making sure that not only is the work of a variety that suits the individual's skill set, but that what they get from us is flexible according to their needs as well, and meeting them where they're at. That's what's really key, I think.
Great. Geoff, do you want to weigh in? And I'm sorry, I'm going to grab water because I inhaled some dust.
Go for
I'll
it.
be back.
On this idea of meaning versus productivity, I don't think the two are mutually exclusive, because meaning is something that you feel, and productivity is something that you do, right? And we certainly don't want to burn people out. But just to share this via an example, we have teams of people, large teams that mobilize to go build something, right? Something that's big, and it's really hard work. A lot of them have to be on job sites at 6 o'clock in the morning. They may work long hours, but they're doing it together, so they feel that they are a part of something, and the hard work is worth it. Now, one thing we do, just to add to that, we do have to be careful that we're not burning people out And we have been doing some analysis around work-life balance and proper staffing levels. So there is that dimension to it, but meaning and productivity are not necessarily mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys about should you actually turn away business as an organization in order to prevent burnout? I mean,
we did.
You did. Has anybody else seen examples of that?
We do it every day.
Really?
Yeah, we make decisions on what projects we pursue based on our staffing levels and our capacity, and we turn work away. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you do that, you're making these calls based on what you know about the capacity. I mean, there isn't
Correct.
like input necessarily from the employees directly.
Yep.
Any other?
I think the comment that I would add, and I think it speaks to this on the front end, is being fierce about prioritization. So understanding what are the goals that you're actually trying to achieve, what does it take to actually get there, and then what's outside of that, and being, again, really fierce around staying focused where you need to be focused to achieve those goals, and equally as fierce to turn away either the work or to say, hey, that's not going to be this in this iteration of what we're trying to do. That's really, really hard, especially when you're trying to engage the workforce and keep the creativity there. So it requires a lot of discipline, and it's a hard thing to do.
Okay, I'm going to end on a super positive note and ask each of you to just give us a few seconds of your take of what creates pride in employees and in their organizations. And you touched on this already, but if you can add a little bit to what you already said.
I would say values, the core values of the organization, and I'm not talking about some corporate speak hanging on a wall. It's what is it that the organization really has embedded in its fabric.
And I think it's when they find purpose and meaning in the work that they do, and they're contributing to it sounds a bit crass, but the world, what we're putting out there in the world has purpose and meaning, and people really feel good about the work that they do.
I'll build on that with the word impact, right? So is the action that you are taking impacting the world, impacting the people around you? Are you seeing tangible results as a result of what you're doing? Nobody likes being that widget, right? And if you cannot tie what you are doing to meaning, like you're helping develop somebody or you're helping build a building or change the world, that's really what I think drives that meaning. And it could be any form.
When I think of pride, I think all of these for sure, and also I think it's important that our employees feel like they're a part of a sense of community. And I know this is not a popular belief, but I definitely believe that being in an office really helps build that sense of community. And that is a wonderful place to instill feeling good about where you work, good about the experience, is doing it together. And it's a beautiful connected space. So
I think for a VMware perspective, just the ability to be true innovators and creators and to fail fast and to be able to move super quickly and get a lot of stuff done and solve incredibly complex and challenging problems, and being just in a forward-facing business as we think about this hybrid space, and technology in general is moving super quick. And I already talked about the values, so underscored by all of that is just a cultural belief that values matter and they're important.
Well, I am glad that I was the only one who ran off the stage at some point. Apologies again. But thank you so much for sharing all of your insights and perspectives. Thanks.